Hi.
Hello.
So aware of that first hello. Oh, gosh.
Welcome back to One Idea episode 4. This one is going to be what it's going to be.
Yes.
Um,
How are you feeling, Laura? Tell me,
how am I
how are you
feeling?
feeling?
So, look, I'm feeling a myriad of things, but so one of our tasks we were meant to do last week was listen back,
Mm,
and I have not wanted to because I just know that I'm going to critique myself, which I already have because I did start listening to a little bit this morning. And I just don't think it's going to be helpful. Obviously, we're going to have to edit and put them out. And, I was even wondering if there's a way to sort of speed listen to it so I don't have to listen to it too intently.
mm,
But we need to find a solution for that. But I think in general, the theme today that I'm feeling is this perfectionism, people pleasing, external
yeah.
shit. Like how I am portrayed to the world is so still like a thing that I'm just dealing with on a regular basis. So then hearing yourself back.
Just to clarify, we're talking about listening back to the episodes we've already just done, which is
Yeah,
our intro and
yeah,
then our first two, it was actually
yeah.
just our interviews of each other.
Yeah. And so the first part, I think, of hearing yourself talk is like the whole, like, why do you have something to say kind of thing.
Mm.
And then interviewing, it's also like being like trying to be so prepared as well. So like either one I can put fault at.
Yeah.
But that's why there's no point listening back to it because I just don't think it's helpful at this moment. Because I'm also dealing with that just on a day-to-day basis as well as like that very hyper aware of how I'm externally focused, and
Yeah. Like,
um,
as in looking for validation externally
yeah,
or
but also like
approval.
approval. I also just feel right now over the last couple of days that there's all these sort of old wounds or old
Mm.
stories coming up. And I think probably the only thing, like, the whole point of listening back was to actually go, like, is there anything else we wanted to add? And I think maybe because we didn't even get close to current day,
Mm.
I just think in general, there's so much shifting in me at the moment that it's all good. Like, it's all good. Like, it's all for the greater good.
Yeah, yeah, it just doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good. Um,
So break down a little bit of what that sounds like in your mind or in your heart or whatever for you.
um, that feels hard. Um, I think like a lot of wounds are coming up about that feeling like an alien, feeling like you didn't fit in. So therefore, the external stuff becomes really important
Mm.
because, like, at least if you can externally fit in, people think you're okay. I think that's
Mm.
it. I think that's maybe what's going on for me. So, like family stuff is coming up a little bit, just some really random things that have caught me off guard that have just made me go, oh, yeah, there is a lot of focus on my material success.
Mm.
Like that is and physical appearance and things like
Mm.
that. Like that's their measure points of that I'm doing okay, but
Yeah,
that doesn't actually reflect what I feel on the inside.
yeah, it's that old way of thinking, that upbringing way of thinking that they're
Yeah, and just some like literal old like that's been said to me like around how I look or around just like materialism and I'm still stuck in it. So like
mm.
for example, We did the Christmas tree on Sunday. And I do love Christmas. And I'm trying to also focus on the things that I love.
Yeah.
But there is very much like, how does it visually look? Like, does it look grand? Does it look beautiful? Which I guess are good, nice feelings, but it's also very much about where you sit in the world or something, or your status. Yeah. And therefore, what became a nice process with the kids becomes stressful because you're trying to make it look a certain way. And they're like putting bobbles wherever they feel, throwing them around,
and
like
can reach,
where they can,
all
they can
clumped
reach
in one area.
Exactly, and that's
spread it around.
But I'm also so hyper aware that I'm doing that too. So it's like it's even worse at the moment because it's like I'm hyper aware that I'm that critical over things that should be a joyous experience because I'm so connected to the external. No one comes to my house either, so no one else is going to see it.
Do you feel like because of because of our interviews and what's going on that this is more hyper for you at the moment? As in, when you might do it last year, the Christmas tree, would this have come up for you, or you're just aware it's coming up for you? Like, what is it? Is it that it's brought up stuff for you, or you're realizing that you're already feeling that?
Was I already thinking that last year? No, I don't think I was.
So would you have been managing the Christmas tree, or would you have just been?
Yeah, no, I still would have done it in a similar controlling way. And I probably would have got annoyed about where the things were put.
Yeah.
But was I realizing it was linking to what I felt, what I was trying to externally portray? Probably not. No. So yeah, it's coming up because of the podcast, but it's also coming up because of the AA work as well. Like I'm also not working, and I'm trying to intentionally slow down. I'm trying to shift a lot of things. And so because of all of those things, like all this stuff is like creeping up. I can feel it all creeping up. Like, you know, and I think because you said that thing around the ironclad heart, but the soft gooey heart, but the wall. I'm like probably been figuring out when was those moments that really hardened, I think, as well. And yeah, so there's like a lot of stuff, but what I'm also seeing is that the people I do interact with, they're also going through similar stuff. So I don't know if it's like everyone is feeling all this kind of shit coming up. Or everyone I'm speaking to, I guess, is. And so that's the only thing that's making me go, okay, this is meant to be, and this is, as I said, going to be good in the long run.
Yeah.
But it's just, what else is another example? I had a lunch with my old work as well, just with one of the girls from there, and I wanted to portray that I was okay physically. So it's very much, and I've done this my whole life. So I think it's just the hyper awareness of it now. Yeah. And it's like, it's
is in what you're wearing and how your hair is and all that sort of stuff, like physically.
Yeah. Because I need to see that now that I've left that. I'm like, I just saw your finger like creep up. I thought you were giving me the finger. I thought you were like,
imagine through your story. Just like giving you the root. I was bringing my microphone closer to my mouth.
I know.
With my index finger, but it probably in the corner of it.
It looks like she's giving me the finger.
Creep up of just like, fuck you, as you tell me this story.
This is boring. Yeah, so I think there's just a hyper awareness, the sensitivity is coming up.
Yeah.
loneliness has been a big topic with the AA stuff. So it's like but generally seeing that there's a loneliness in everybody. And I think then the loneliness, is the thing that can be the killer, but then also the thing that makes it hard. Even like the more lonely you feel, sometimes the harder it is to also then connect. It's like, you get comfortable by being by yourself, and then it tips over to a point, and then it's very hard to break back into society or to the world.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
because you become used to yourself and your own.
again, it becomes scary putting yourself out there. That feels vulnerable, all those things. So, there's a lot of stuff, and listening to the whole podcast probably isn't going to make that stuff feel better at the moment.
Yeah, not quite ready for that level of exposure to one's self.
No. So, on a positive note, I'm trying to meditate. So, I'm hoping that's going to shift something.
Yeah.
And I had a really good meditation yesterday. But then I'm also like, so after we had a quick chat on the phone this morning, I also have this feeling of like the perfectionism is also like doing all the good things, like making sure that, you're eating well and you're exercising well and you're meditating and you're blah, 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 blah. And then I just had this sense of coming back and just wanting to fucking rebel.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what I could do.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was going to be. I was like, I'm going to watch Netflix.
Now.
Right now.
Kids interrupt you and it's over.
Yeah. So let's flick it over to you while I just pause on that for a moment.
Well, so for me, I didn't listen to, so our task was to listen. Let's listen back. It was even my suggestion. Didn't listen back. Mostly because I don't want to, I guess, inside, but also, just I'm terrible at finding space, time when I can do that. But mostly it'd be that I just am putting it off. And it had an unraveling anyway without listening to it, just for the fact that you, like when you did yours, I interviewed you. I was like, that was great. Yeah, really good. Cool. Good to hear that stuff about Laura. And then didn't think too much more of it at all. And then it came to when I did mine. And my unraveling was very much, and side note, I'm the week before my period as well. So I think it's probably a little bit intensified as well. All of my emotions get intensified, positive and negative, I guess. My unraveling, my thoughts were things like, what a fucking self-consumed wanker. What a self-consumed wanker.
Even though we pre-planned this to be about me, one to be about you, like I had a similar thought.
I just feel, I was just like, what did you even say? You disgusting, like, just talking about my experiences, like just full disgust, full like, cringing, just like, oh, shut up. Like there's literally people starving and being in war and all these people who are living this real life of pain and struggle and survival. I'm like, oh, it's a bit anxious, like it's just real, a lot of self, just full shame. And I still sit here and I don't think I can say that I feel like, no, but I've got to be kind to myself. I'm still like, no, I think you are just still a bit of a fucking wanker for saying all the stuff. And it makes me question why I'm doing this with you.
Yeah.
It makes me think, well, do I just like the sound of my own voice, not literally, but just to waffle on about things that I think, is there any why is it helpful for anyone? Is it helpful just for me, just to feel like I'm waffling and entertaining my own self-indulgence? That's all.
Mm.
And I'm like, that could be really what I'm doing here. That could be what I'm doing here. And
But I have a similar thought, and
yeah,
not about you, definitely not about you, but
no,
about
when you
me.
do it for yourself, yeah.
Yes, and then if I think about you, I like, I think that there was lots I learnt as well, even though we've known each other for so long. But like the whole point was just to get to know us, and like we'd already set that intention. We've gone, but then once we actually did it, it's still like, well, why did we do it?
I know. What are we doing that for? And I spoke to my sister about it, Lisa, we all know, and love. And she's like, well, yeah, you do really always get cringed out by everything you do. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And she's like, I think it's just walls that are going to keep coming up that you're just going to have to like push through. You're just going to have to
Mm,
keep pushing through those walls. And I'm like,
hmm.
okay. But
Yeah,
not that I,
definitely.
not that I mean, I think essentially I'm going to push through the walls because for me, these are the walls that always come up. And maybe the walls that are coming up to say you are a selfish, indulgent prick. So, pushing through the walls will teach you, yes, you're a self-indulgent prick. And then we can actually have satisfied that yearning to sit here and have these conversations and do this, but at least I've satisfied that to get to the other side instead of stopping when I cringe out because I think I'm a
Mm-hmm.
self-indulgent prick. Instead of
Mm-hmm.
stopping there,
Mm-hmm.
I never quite learn if that's what it is or if it's that
Well, we haven't got through the other
we
side
haven't
yet.
got through the other side to know. So, for experiment's sake, we'll keep
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
and keep persisting with this exhaustingly gross task.
I do have another dart. I know this happened the first time. I know,
Yeah,
but I
which I
think it
don't recall.
happened.
I'll probably block it out.
I think because it was probably the same thing. Like it was exactly the same thing that happened.
Yeah,
And so that's the only real reason why I'm like, okay, this happened before,
yeah,
so that's not where we were going to stop this time.
yeah,
And I think this other thing that the thing I didn't like about both
yeah.
is that, um, well, we also need to just talk about like I feel like I'm being too prepared with it all, and like
Right.
we need to have these kind of this is what we need to talk about, and of course we need that, but I feel like maybe there's also an element where we don't need it,
Yeah,
because I think one of our main sort of missions or focuses was that we want an energizing conversation.
yeah.
A lot of the time when you and I have had those energizing conversations, we haven't had a script of what we're going to talk
No,
about. And it's not
no.
that we're scripting what we're saying, but we're scripting the questions and we're scripting the direction.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen with everyone we interview, though, too. So it's like
Mm.
I also have to accept that. But I think because I'm sitting in this, like, I just feel like I want it to be a little bit more messy or something. I don't know, like a little bit more
Raw and
raw, yeah.
just
And but
whatever
then that's
comes up.
about me being more raw and not being like so. I don't know how to break this, but I know that that's why like we just decided to record today rather than going off a plan.
Yeah. Um, I think I think probably doing this as well is, you think you get to a certain level of, like, I certainly never thought going into this, "Oh, I'm really worked myself out." I certainly don't think that. But it just makes you realize, I guess, when you get in a certain pattern of life and, you know, we're both parents and we're both kind of at a certain stage where your 20s are over and they're really challenging the 20s. Well, for me, I found them really super challenging anyway.
Super,
And I
super
think there was a
challenging.
lot of breaking out of a lot of habits and a lot of ways of thinking. But then you kind of get in your lane a little bit. Like I felt like I've been in my lane where most of what I'm doing is reasonably straightforward in my life. I'm not
Mm,
overly challenging myself with things that make me feel really uncomfortable.
mm,
I have things that still make me super uncomfortable socially, like school stuff, like my daughter's school and like school events and small talk and those kinds of things, which we've touched on.
Yeah.
But on a personal growth, really challenging myself about things, I'm not. I don't know. Life feels at once very challenging in some ways and also very comfortable in others. And this is probably stretching that part of ourselves that we've needed to. Well, we're coming up and we're ready to stretch, I guess, or we're diving into it. And it just feels really gross. It feels really shameful and really
Yeah.
embarrassing to me.
Embarrassing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels embarrassing.
Yeah. It's like,
Um,
oh, shut up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I would agree with a lot of that. I think though, going back to that original feeling is that felt easy. That part felt really easy to like feel that like, yes, we're going to do this. I
Yeah,
haven't.
that felt
Great.
exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And go on.
And then the doing has felt great. Then the reality of it is where it feels yuck.
Yeah. So I guess there's so many people that feel this way, where you got to have courage, you've got to have courage to do. But then it's like, again, as I'm saying that, like, courage for what, you slut? Like, courage for talking to your friends.
And then doing a
Talking to your
podcast where there's
friends.
a billion podcasts in the world. It's like,
Yeah, like so brave.
well, okay. Let me go back to some of my other experiences. Like, so that show, I did a show. The reason why I'm thinking about that is because that was a brave, I guess, thing to do as well. But I actually,
You're talking about your dancing show, your salsa show that you
yes,
put on the stage.
because there's
show.
a parallel because I was meant to be in it as well as a dancer, and that felt yuck. But being the director, because that's originally how I'd planned it. Was I was going to.
Why did it feel yuck?
Because I had to put myself out there. It was not only was I making it, directing it, creating it, but then also committing to it on stage and being visually on stage, and also having those three things attached to it was too much. So I took out the fact that I was on stage and just focused on the other three because I could hide behind the scenes in that. And even to the point that, not that I actually wanted to do it anyway, but even though I didn't want to get up and be acknowledged, I didn't want to visually be acknowledged.
Because then you might also be the one who is
put something out there that's a piece of shit as well.
Yeah. It's like, if they like it, they'll like it, and I feel happy they like it. But if they don't like it, then they don't know who I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it doesn't matter either way.
Yeah.
So that was, in a way, so if I could be the producer of this podcast, I would feel great.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're not sharing. You're not sharing
but
yourself.
having to be visually out there, people hearing my voice.
Yeah.
That part feels yuck, but I also know that I'm very likely to pull out, so that's why I'm pushing through.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting distracted because I don't know if my dog needs the toilet. I don't know. Sorry. Yeah. Pushing through. I think that's the ultimate thing. It's like, okay, so the voices in my head that are saying, oh, so you're making a podcast and talking about how you felt anxious and you've got, you guys have fears and anxieties or whatever about life. Why does anyone care? And why don't you do something that's helpful in the world to people? Why don't you put your energy and time into homelessness or domestic violence or something where kids who need stuff and food.
Yeah.
It sounds really bad. Oh, God. I'm eating my words as I'm saying them. Bless you. Bless you. You muted yourself while you sneezed.
Yeah.
As I was having a slight little breakdown about the words I was using.
No, but it's that maybe we are just really, really depleted. Like we are little spoiled girls deep in our soul, and no one's been giving us attention. So we're like, we need to have a moment of self-indulgent where it's all about us. Maybe that's what it is. Like, maybe, I don't know. But I think obviously there's been a calling for it to do it, whatever, wank, wank, wank. But
maybe though as well, like what I'm still looking forward to, but when I feel more confident is actually having people who do help people on here that we can talk to, or new ideas that are helpful and the things, rather than it just being about us.
Yeah.
And we might have, you know, interesting conversations for us, or maybe that's not, maybe even to be, I don't know, but maybe these sessions are also us getting used to the format of talking on this system and being and doing podcasting and the sound that we're making and whether the volume's enough, and just having conversation in this format without our first, you know, all our jitters every time we say hello. It's like, how the fuck are we opening this? Hello. Hi. Like, maybe we're just getting used to it and we need to do ourselves first, but that's not what we're like. The long term is what we're getting people who give us interesting stuff we want to share with people.
We've already lost focus of the long term and the whole purpose for this totally was to interview people. And again, that was a little bit self-indulgent, but again, hopefully that information would help other people.
That's
You're giving me the finger again.
Oh shit. Sorry, I did not
time
mean
you're
to.
doing it like that. I think your body is fucking hating me.
Not you. It's probably back at myself, if anything.
Yeah. It's hating this.
How much brighter am I right now, though?
You did get brighter.
Yeah, like you can actually see. Usually I'm just a purple smudge.
We're kind of blending a little bit, so you've got that grey wash as well.
We're getting aligned to each other.
Goes again. It was the light, something with the light. Yes, but that's what we've forgotten. You've said it, but I think maybe that's what I've forgotten in the fact that it's been about us these last couple of episodes.
And really, it was supposed to just be about us because we're the ones doing it, but it's not going to be about us. It's going to be about interesting ideas and people who do things and what they do and, you know, what we think about it and our thoughts, obviously, but it's not going to be always centered around us. We were just doing those ones that soul crushed us, but then we can move on and keep moving forward, keep finding people who are interested, like, you know, your friend who you know. I won't talk about those people yet because we haven't really, like, they've said yes, but we've not done them yet, so I won't talk about it. But that will be fascinating. I'm really looking forward to that part.
Totally.
I also feel like we need this practicing time. We need this time where
that's true.
No one's going to hear this part anyway.
This will be only if something of interest comes up later on. They might go back to these episodes. That's maybe. Yeah. And then you'll go like, oh, they really were shit in the beginning. And they got
also better. Like we were trying, I imagine that we can look back at these ones and go, we were working out what we were and what we were doing. And part of that process is to shed our little immediate feelings that we don't want to dive into with people we don't know and be like, oh, why did you ask that? Or why did you say that? Oh, you're a fucking idiot. We go through this now before we have people on. We're going to feel a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
So these are our breathing room, our getting our own personal shit out of the way first episodes.
Well, then, because we're still practicing, is there anything that you felt like I didn't say or didn't ask you in your interview that you're like, why didn't you ask me about that? Like, that's so important to me.
No.
Or are you just like, you don't want to talk about yourself anymore ever again?
Yes, but also like I don't know. I think it's so hard to really like there are so many key things in my life that have made me who I am. Some of them would be more mundane and boring, and some of them might be somewhat interesting. But it's also like, yeah, I don't feel like I went, oh, she wasn't at all. Like it was more
No.
just me ruminating out of my own disgust of myself, over my
Yeah.
own disgust.
Yeah.
So,
No,
did
I
you have anything specifically that
totally get.
you're like, oh, she didn't?
No, but I did feel that obviously we got stuck on our childhood,
Older,
teenage
yeah,
self, and it's like, but then that was also like almost 20 years ago. Most of those stories, and we're now sitting here with very different views, but that made us who we are. Um, but again, like I also said, like if really people cared about what they want, like what the hosts are about,
yeah,
maybe in 10 episodes, 20 episodes, 100 episodes, we go back and revisit it.
yeah. That's right.
But
I mean, I
at this,
guess,
sorry, you go.
I guess, you could say, what would you call your belief system now? Did we sort of touch on that?
No, we didn't touch on that at all, I don't think. My belief system. Oh, see, I think
Is
just
it
by
still
nature,
discovering it?
I'm really discovering it at the moment, but I just think by nature, I'm a very deep, 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 too deep a person sometimes and can see the meaning in everything to the point that it can confuse me. Like I'm
For
looking for the
example,
meaning in everything.
oh, you're always searching for the meaning in that moment and that thing and
Yeah,
that
the
scratch on the
time, I looked at
wall
the
or
time at 11:11. Like I know that's obviously
yeah.
a thing, but it could be 23 because that's a number that keeps coming up for me. I was on 43 just then. Like there's a lot of idiot like constant things I'm always surveying and trying to get information from. Could be the fact that I'm undiagnosed ADHD, but
And
um
also, is that kind of linked into because I wonder this too, like, do you believe that everything happens for a reason, that kind of thing?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So every moment of everything happens for a reason, or
Pretty much.
that, yeah.
The reason could just be that it's showing you something, that it's teaching you something. Like it doesn't have to be profound like every moment. Well, okay, so my belief system
Mm,
is that everything is teaching you something, but we still have free will. So
mhm.
we can ignore it or we can look at it.
Yeah.
The more I'm trying to go inwards and do, and find out more where I am in this world, the more I try and see meaning from things. And
Yeah.
um, I am having this journey, I guess, with God. So that's coming into my belief system. Um, yeah, I think it's still really being figured out. But yes, like they're very, very deep. So, I also wonder if this is a simulation.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
this right now is a simulation. But
And we're like our real selves are sort of what are our real selves doing? Or
our real selves aren't a physical body, I don't think.
yeah.
So this is like a projection or something.
Yeah.
So then that's a rabbit hole there. But
Mm,
so I think that this thing that I think we said in the beginning, I do fundamentally believe we're all one.
mm,
But my um, stance is to pull away from that.
mm.
Whether that's protection or disconnect, I don't know what it is, but it's like I pull away from that even though I know the opposite is true. And that's why I was saying that I was at a meeting this morning, and the purpose for that is to remind me that we are all one. The
Yeah.
stories in every time I've been in a meeting, they connect. Everybody resonates. Everybody sees themselves in each other. So that's a reminder that we are all one. So, and I think I sort of said at the beginning of this, all this old shit's coming up for me, and everyone I've spoken to, is having a similar experience. That's to me the all oneness is
Yeah,
that
so you believe in that collectivity sort of thing, whereas I don't actually have any connection to collectivity at all. For me personally, not to say that I don't believe it or I don't think it happens. I just don't have any awareness of it, or I don't connect to it. Go on.
So that's
interesting.
a huge thing for me. Back to the seeing. So like our conversation today, I'll then reflect and like, what was that about? Why did we have that conversation? What was coming up for both of us? What were we mirroring back to each other? Blah, blah, blah. The head races and goes down a million different rabbit holes. It's what we did when we had our own interviews. We've gone down, but that's the real negative self-talk.
Yeah.
I think when I'm not being recorded, it doesn't always go so negative.
Yeah.
And it can just be more like, oh, yeah, that's what we're getting from each other. That's what we were obviously feeling, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, definitely that is something I believe in for sure.
I always feel from you that kind of like if I say, oh, blah, 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 this happened, and you'll go, well, maybe that's what you needed to have in that moment. That's exactly, you didn't need it to be this thing that you were looking for. You needed it to be that. And you've always been someone that, well, not always, but in your the past, I don't know, what is it, 7 years? Had that thing of, bringing it back to that's what you needed at the time. And I think that's been quite true, I guess, that I mean, you're getting that experience, you're experiencing whatever you are because of everything that led to that point exactly. And then we can either run from those things or avoid those things through whatever that might be. Either it's a substance or a food or an obsession of thinking or exercise or whatever it could be, that we avoid the same messages that come up for ourselves. Often they're the same messages. But yeah, there's definitely, I just so often you'll kind of bring it back to, well, that's probably what you needed at the time. Which I also think there is a reason for everything. However, I don't necessarily have that kind of, you have always that search. I feel that always that, why is this happening right now? Or what do I need to learn from this right now? What do I need to learn from that? And I don't necessarily have that, or maybe I have it over longer chapters. You've got it in more condensed moments.
Yeah.
Mine might be a longer chapter of going, oh, I see that. It was all for that. Anyway, so your belief system, you're beginning to understand God or know God, or I think I'm going to take this top off.
I'm beginning to trust God.
And God to you is like, you don't know.
It's a combination still of the white man, just because of all of the knowledge. The white beard, like that visual, that is still in my brain.
I'm being too annoying here. Wait, just a sec.
This is real.
So hot in Sydney today.
Well, it's actually really disgusting here. It's hot and humid.
Yeah, I've got no aircon too. Such a hot life. The pool though, I can go in that. Yeah. Yeah, it's a combination of the white man. What?
I said she does have a pool.
Yes. It's not mine though, technically. So
she lives near a pool. She lives with a pool on her land.
Her land is not mine.
So man. I still see the bearded white man.
Yep.
In my brain.
Yep.
But I know it's not that. But I'm okay with seeing that at the moment. And I've been talking with God. So asking, like, literally basic shit, like, can I get a car park? I really need a car park, God.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was some other things. Oh my gosh, I was looking for hairdressing scissors. Like really very back to my back to my materialistic life. I'm
Don't need
asking.
world peace or anything. Don't need like peace in
No,
Gaza.
well, because I don't
I'm
see
joking.
that
I'm
as an
joking.
instant thing, though. Like, I definitely have prayer for the general health of my family, my kids, my husband,
Yeah.
that kind
Yeah.
of thing. But it's not an instant thing necessarily. So, like, but I have been doing it with instant things, which I used to do when I was younger,
Yeah.
and they're being answered.
Yeah.
So
That's funny, isn't it?
I'm accepting that as the start, and maybe God's talking to me in the language of materialism because it's all I understand at the moment.
What do you
Um,
mean talking to you in
because I'm
materialism?
asking for objects, or I'm asking for
Ah,
a place,
right.
or I'm
Okay.
asking
Yeah.
for, like, the big thing I'm asking for is what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting, and I'm like, I need it to be crystal clear what you want. Because I am still jumping out of default. Like, I'll go for a job search every day,
Yeah.
but I'm not really sure what I'm searching for anymore
Yeah.
because I'm not getting a clear, Laura,
Yeah.
you need to do blah. Like, and
Need
that's what
to
I'm
work in a
really,
factory.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if I got that in a voice, I probably would do it right
So
now.
happy to as well, wouldn't you? Just be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
could go and do that. And then I
Yeah.
don't have to think about
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Obviously, God's told me, so he'll financially provide it as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
going to be no. Yeah, uh I've done that. Well, when I pray, it's like to them. I think I said this last time. I don't know. I don't singular it to a God now because I
Mm,
guess I had so much attachment to a God growing up as a Christian, and it was a singular God. Well, there was Jesus and there was God, there was the Holy Spirit, the three of those. So there was a them, but for me it was just a singular, oh God, blah blah blah, God, God,
mm,
God.
mhm.
But now I'm like, it could be, I had that dream about a grey haired woman on the beach doing Reiki on me,
Yep.
and she propelled, like she went and sent me into another parallel, well, not a parallel, like another dimension. And I screamed and then started singing like this ethereal song. Like it was terrifying and then incredible. And I'm like, maybe she's up there. Maybe she is a guide. Maybe she's something for me. Don't
See,
know.
and then my deepness goes with that. So that wasn't a dream that you went into another dimension. Did you wake up feeling any different?
No, I don't think so. I just knew I had an incredible dream. Like it was such
Yeah.
a fabulous, like, because so what happened was I was lying on like a something on the beach, and a lady was behind. There were a few people there, but there was a lady with like grey hair. I didn't look at her. She was just, I knew what she looked like,
Mm.
sort of. And she put her hands like above my lower back, like that. And then she went up to my upper back and she went, ugh. And then when she did that second one, I, fast as lightning, propelled into another dimension, screamed out of fear,
Mm.
like it was absolutely fucking crazy. And then once I got into the other dimension, which I don't know what it even looked like, I just knew
Yeah.
I was in another dimension. I started singing, and it was like this ethereal voice that came out, and then there was like a woman about 20 meters from me who was kind of like wearing almost like a hijab kind of garb. And
Mm.
she looked behind me and she just smiled and she like did that to me. And then I was like, like, just, this is the fucking best place. I was so exhilarated. And then the dream finished.
Oh my God.
But
That's
anyway,
amazing.
from that dream, I was like, well, maybe there's a bunch, like people talk about in their near-death experiences going and seeing people that, I told you this last time, people seeing people who they knew but they don't know. And I think maybe when I'm praying, I talk very conversationally. I go, hello. And I'm like, I feel stupid sometimes talking to you. I don't know if this is
Mm.
real, but I'm going to talk about what I feel. And most of it comes down to the people in my life that I love and wanting them to be blessed and felt love and help with their guidance, and also help guide me in the places where I don't love properly, in the places where I am blocked, get my ego out of my way, get my shit out of the way, and help me to love these people that I struggle to love as well. These ones that piss me off. And
Do you, when you talk to them, do they talk back?
no.
No.
But I do feel more, I feel like I'm listened to.
Right.
But they don't talk back, and I get answers for things, or it could be coincidence as well. But I feel like things are becoming more aligned in my family. I can feel the alignment happening. There's prayer happening in my family with not just me, with others. There's softness happening. There's more understanding, more guidance.
That's interesting. That's the same that's happening with our family too.
Yeah, and I really do put that down to prayer. I was outside. This is so ridiculous, and just again, I'm going to feel like a wanker saying this, but here I go. I was out at the throwing the dog the ball, which I do every day, out the backyard, and we have heaps of palm trees, heaps of like vegetation. And there's a palm tree that's just sitting up the top that's like three different palm, big ones. And I just got a sense of like them being there with me. And I had this sense of, you've been here all along. You've been with me here all along. And it's just that, like, even now I really have a connection with trees, and I feel like a full tree hugger. Like, I did go to the tree and give it somewhat of a strange little hug, because I definitely feel like they're with us and they're here. There's something spiritual about the trees for me now. And the more I'm praying, the more I'm connecting to birds and trees. And I feel like they're really great friends.
Trees and birds.
I just got an audio, like, I've heard myself talking, and it's like, what a psycho. Like, I genuinely think that's mental as well as feeling that way.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's two things at once. But I just felt like they know you, and they're there, and it's not like you can't cut down. I'm not like, you can't now cut down a tree. Obviously, I don't like cutting down trees. I keep the oxygen going. But it's just,
you're feeling their aliveness.
Yeah, or their friendship of sorts. I know it's really, I think, or I'm slowly going absolutely insane. Like, it's could be that too.
No, I mean, I don't feel it with all trees, but I do when you see like a magnificent tree, you definitely feel, well, I feel taken back by the tree.
they're quite can't think of the word, but yeah, they could move you, can't they? A really big, incredible tree. Yeah. But this was just like those, I don't know.
But that's them talking to you as well, maybe. Is that a sign of that? Or that's just trees?
I don't know. What them? Oh, the spirit. No, I feel like that's collective. Just like literally trees. Like maybe the trees do actually have some sort of life force.
But that's why there are tree huggers.
I know. Well, it made me first, when I started feeling this way about trees in the last, I'd say honestly, few months. Like, it's very new. But, I have had other experiences with trees. When I had my mushroom trip, the tree was the one that spoke to me and gave me my insight. So and I'm only putting this together actually now as I speak. So when I had a mushroom trip, I was in the most beautiful bush, but I was inside at the time, and I felt the need to go outside. I was called to go outside. I sat amongst the trees, and everything was extremely still. Extremely still in that bush. And then one of the eucalypt trees, its branch like bended as if it was to be
Like a
hello,
wave, like a hello.
hello. And immediately my download from that, which you know this story, immediately my download from that was me saying, there was a me that was, when I became pregnant, I had also gotten accepted into an acting school in Melbourne that I'd finally gotten the courage to really follow and start doing. And it was like, I felt like on the precipice of my acting
journey.
Where could I go? You know, I'd done other courses and other things before that, but this felt like a really big step that direction.
It was. It would have been, I think.
Yeah. And then I found out I was pregnant, and it was a fork in the road. And I decided to not go down the acting path and to have this baby and focus on trying to sort out how to be somewhat of a good mum. And that tree was the me that was waiting still at that fork in the road, waiting for her moment to be, go down that acting path, go and explore that, you know, glitz and glamour of doing acting and being an actor, and really getting over my fears about it, and living this sort of what I thought my dreams could possibly be. And that tree was, and then I began to sob, like really, really deep sob. But I was on the mushroom trip. I observed this younger Gemma from whatever 5 years before that. I was observing her grieve. She was waiting there to know what was going to happen. She didn't have closure. And my friends came up in the mushroom trip and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. She's just needing to let go of that. She's just needing to grieve." And I told her, now we're here and we've got this beautiful daughter and we're doing all these things and it's all good. I had to tell her she needed that closure. And the other thing, which was really random, was just like I'd had weed and I was with friends, but I was alone and I was walking past beautiful trees in Warrandyte. And this is a really silly moment, but I felt the trees were like watching me, and sort of I gave them a little spin. I was like, and we had a little moment, like a little winky moment with each other. Like that's how.
That is.
Yeah. So
that you look. That's maybe your path. Tree huggings.
Huggings could be my name. I'm Tree Huggings. Yeah, look, it is really strange, but
do you know what though?
Again,
the guest that we're probably going to get on, you could have a very big conversation about trees with her.
I think the other one we might be having on is the same.
Yeah. So I think there is some deeper meaning with the trees that might.
Yeah, and it's like same as birds, you know, the birds thing.
Well, I saw an owl in the middle of, like, in broad daylight last night.
In broad daylight last night?
Well, it was nighttime in the sense it was like 7 o'clock, but it was broad daylight.
Oh, because Melbourne doesn't go dark until 10 p.m. now.
Yeah.
Okay, what kind of owl was it? A barn owl?
No, it was a very big owl. Like, I don't know
what
my
colour?
owl. It was speckly greys and blacks. And actually, a man next to me, I was waiting to pick up my son from a class, and he was like, "Look at that owl. Don't see that every day."
That's awesome.
And I was like,
did you look up the spiritual meaning of an owl?
I've done it before because I've actually seen an owl before. Let's have a look. Lifetime spiritual meaning of an owl.
Also, it could be a specific.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Australian owl.
It symbolizes protection and insight.
Oh my God.
They are believed to carry wisdom and the ability to see what is hidden. Vocalization.
Say it again.
Wisdom is what they represent in a nutshell.
Yeah, which is wise old owl. That's pretty obvious. But yeah, what kind of? I mean, you'll be able to know what kind of. What's your
It had
area, southeastern.
It had a not typical owl face. Like it almost.
It wasn't a It wasn't a tawny frogmouth.
Maybe. Let me
Tawny
help.
frogmouths are Australian. They're not owls. They look similar to owls.
Oh, I don't know. It could have been that.
Let me
Could have
just
been
have a
that.
look.
That's not an owl. No, it is an owl.
No,
Oh no, it's not an owl.
no, it's not.
But
Hang
it's
on.
still nocturnal.
Is it like this?
Yes, I think it was
Okay.
that.
That is a southern book.
Mm. Anyway,
Maybe it was a
owl,
baby. Yeah.
yeah. I think the birds and the owls and the trees are all here to teach us things. Well, animals are here to teach us things for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think because for me, I think essentially, I think the simulation thing for me reads true in a way. Like, obviously, we just always say we don't know anything, but I think we're here. We're energy, right?
Mm.
Everything's energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like this earth is energy in
Mm-hmm.
forms of what the computer, my body, this bottle. It's all energy collected to make these forms. But, I do think that our souls fill up this form that is my body, your body. And I think that what you were talking about with the loneliness before, I really think that there's a part of it that because we are all one, and I think I've said this before, it's like we're coming to the earth to understand separation. So loneliness is actually part of our experience here. We need to understand loneliness. We need to feel loneliness because we are the opposite of that. We're
Mm-hmm.
fully connected, fully
Mm.
immersed, we don't appreciate our full immersed connectedness until we feel what it's like to be lonely, until we feel what it's like to be separate from one another. We will return to that place. We will return to the oneness, but it's part of the human learning.
And just to like full circle it, I think the materialism is also the pull for separation and loneliness.
Yeah.
So like the materialism is what keeps us more separate.
Yeah.
And the loneliness is just like a canyon, it's like it makes it bigger and worse because that materialism pulls you away from each other.
Yeah.
In a way. I think that's what I'm feeling there.
Yeah, I think the materialism absolutely pulls it's a distraction from our connectedness. But then never more than a time of now as well, like how material and disconnected we are, which is maybe what we needed to feel. Like if you look back in culture, there were so many, if you look at Aboriginal culture or Native American culture or so many really ancient cultures, they had the ability and the ceremony and the ritual to understand connectedness. They had the music, they had all the things that kept them connected to one another. And so maybe we, us in those reincarnated or first carnated bodies didn't get enough of the experience to understand what we are. So we're needing to come and experience this life that's full of material. And I remember one guy who had a near-death experience that talked about afterwards. He really struggled. A lot of people really struggle coming back and living their earthly life because they're like,
well, because they have
I want to be there.
and
That
the experience
feeling
of
is so
unconditional love
real.
and
Yeah, and just like what we'll only experience when we die, in my belief. And he said something that was quite comforting, that he said something to do with like, and then I started to accept that I'm here and I've chosen to be here. And so some days I'm just going to have the human experience, and that comes with all that stuff. That's what I'm here to do, is experience all this really uncomfortable, painful human stuff, and know that it doesn't need to be this. You don't need to suffer that necessarily. You don't need to suffer in that experience. You just observe that, oh, this is another human experience I'm having, and I've come here to have it. And it sort of, I guess, it separates you from the permanence or the identity of that being the pain being the identity, or the suffering being the identity. It's just more, oh, yeah, that's human. I'm here to have that human experience. It's not me. Doesn't define me. It's not who I am. It'll end as well.
And then it's just that, yeah, so this right now, today, has been our human experience. And it is what it is. And the feelings are the feelings. And that's okay.
Yes.
But I do also, on top of that, back to my meaning, and there's always meaning to everything. I do, because you sort of said that we have decided to have the human experience. I also believe that that's a choice we make. I don't know when we make it, but we definitely make that choice, and we definitely design what we want to experience here.
Yeah, which brings up the topic of like people who are really suffering. So say you might have someone born into extreme abuse.
War zones, famine.
Yeah. Disease.
Yeah, all kinds of abuse.
It really confronts me that I believe that we choose this life, and I've had a relatively very easy one, because I can't, it's very privileged of me to also say that, to say, and I would never in my wildest dreams sort of sit there with a woman who's got a baby with cancer or something like that and be like, yeah, baby change. Like, you know, that's the fucked up thing about what I think as well.
True.
I'll often
this
think,
is very true.
What a very privileged thing to be able to say, even though I do believe it. And I might have been a fucking horrible person in another life. I might be a horrible person in another life. I might suffer all those things. I might choose it next time. Like, I think we do repetitively come here. But for me, I think that because I don't think this is the be all and end all, this life, I don't think we are born and die and become dust. I think our soul is forever, or always everything part of it. For me, it's not like, oh, that's all your person was. Just someone who came to experience abuse and then be killed or something. Like, that's not what defines their experience of who they are as a soul.
And that's, I think, yeah, you're right. It's much easier to say that when, you know, the worst thing for us today is that we talked about ourselves on a podcast.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very easy to say that. The only experience in my own life that I can think of recently was my pregnancies, because I did very much have horrific pregnancies. And I do remember thinking in those moments, why me? Why me? Like, horrific to the point that, especially with the second one, it was very, very touch and go for my health.
Yeah.
And so,
because can you name it, what it's
so
called
I
again?
had hyperemesis. I had hyperemesis in both pregnancies, but then both pregnancies also lead to preeclampsia. And
can you describe what both of those things are?
hyperemesis
I obviously know.
is severe morning sickness, but to the point of malnutrition. So
and all the way through.
All the way through for me, not all for everyone, but all the way through for me, for both. And the second time around, was considering terminating because it was so bad. So I lost about 10 kilos in the first 10 weeks, hospitalized multiple times, medicated. Medication has other severe reactions. And then through that, it led to preeclampsia, which is, it's not severe if it's monitored, but it's ultimately the uterus starts becoming toxic. So the body starts preparing itself or trying to get rid of the toxicity that's coming from the body.
Yeah.
And that happened twice, but I think the preeclampsia isn't physically as bad, but the hyperemesis is.
Yeah.
And, you know, some days you can't, well, for months, I think I didn't get out of bed. I don't think I ate for 6.5 weeks. So your body goes into starvation as well. and it's relentless. So in those moments, I remembered thinking, why is this happening to me? What have I done? But all those things. And I think there are many things that it was there for, like it did for someone that is completely on the go. I would not have stopped enough, I don't think, in my pregnancies if I didn't have something as severe as this. Maybe there was an energetic thing as well. Like I've tried, and if anyone ever hears this and has had hyperemesis or knows anything about hyperemesis, on a spiritual level, I've thought maybe it's like a clash of souls. That's what it kind of feels like. It feels like your soul's clashing with the baby's soul. Like not like or struggling to merge or something. There's like this real like
fight,
fucked up feeling. Like feeling almost like you have a parasite eating you from the inside out.
Fuck.
And look, these are small things in comparison to all the other horrible things that can happen in your life. But I just think in those moments, I've always wondered why. In hindsight, I can go, yeah, that was meant to happen. It's now obviously put like a block for me to have kids again. Even I don't even know if I actually would have wanted them. And I think I would. I definitely think I would. But with that, all that has happened to me, it's very risky for me to do that again.
Yeah.
In fact, it's not advised after 38, and I get to 38 in a few months. In fact, I would not be recommended. I had a window, and the window's closing.
How does that feel, by the way? Have you considered that at all, or are you sort of just rolling with the life?
My family would not accept me having another child out of the risk of my survival.
But as in for you to close that chapter?
I haven't actually closed it.
Yeah.
Even though I know I can't.
You haven't consciously closed it.
No. And there's also, I don't know, I don't really want to go into it just because it's a long tangent now, but around the feeling of souls around me, I've had that feeling. I've had a feeling of another child. It has led to other things. But I thought for a while that there was another child that was wanting to come through. But yes, I don't know how my body would actually be able to do it.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of side effects after having hyperemesis, which I've now realized that because the body goes into starvation. So like to try and regulate food, and especially with the eating disorder stuff that I've already spoken about, like it's a big mess ultimately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess also because it was temporary, it's been very easy for me to go, that was needed for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
If it was not like a chronic illness, I don't know if I could say that as freely. But I definitely can see that I obviously chose those things in my bigger picture soul's journey to experience.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching Dosed. Have you seen Dosed?
No.
Dosed is about, it was actually Dosed 2, but it's a documentary about people who use mushrooms as
like microdosing?
No. For the first one I haven't seen, but that's around a woman who's addicted to, I think, meth. The second one is a woman who gets diagnosed with cancer, and she wants to take mushrooms in the psychology around it, in her acceptance of her diagnosis, in her getting comfortable with death, all of those different things. And so this is it's around that. It's not about fixing the cancer. And then and so, you know, she's obviously someone who, she's got children, but they're probably, I guess maybe the youngest one was in their late teens or something like that. So maybe 17, 18, 19. From what I can remember, she has maybe 3 kids. And she just goes through that journey, and she gets a real peace and a real clarity around that everything's going to be okay, that her family will be okay when she dies. It's not, and there's a real peace around that, which is what she set out to have. She was really scared of dying and what that means. She'd grown up as a Christian but had sort of let that go as well, and was sort of just open to going on. It wasn't just her doing it. It was from a university. They used a sample of people to actually see if mushrooms would help.
Wow.
And it's a really beautiful documentary about someone going through something so intense and able to have some real clarity and have that peace rather than the fear and the worry and the anxiety around my family and what's going to happen to me. Am I going to die and go to hell? And what happens when you die? Not necessarily hell, but she, has a vision of her sitting by a stream. She asked, where will I go when I die? And she just had a vision of her sitting by a stream, just in absolute peace, just looking forward to seeing her family on the other side as well. So she had this real closure. So, that's, I imagine, an extremely difficult thing to go to have cancer. And she actually goes down the weed oil or the weed
CBD
path, and it reduces her cancer anyway. I don't know if she's still alive now since the documentary came out, but it was really great to watch and to see someone who is in something that I've never experienced, something so difficult, use that and find acceptance and peace, which made me it just confirms what I already think, and not to say like things about, as I said, watching children go through horrible things and things like that. You just can't imagine. Of course, I could never imagine it for my own child, and I can't. It's hard. And
that's very true. Like, as I'm saying all this, I don't know how I'm going to feel about my kids having these experiences, because then that feels really,
you want to protect them from everything.
Yeah. That feels like out of control.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing. We're just learning. We don't know. We're still figuring it out, or we may never figure it out, or we can just, I guess, does it help? Does my belief hurt anyone or help anyone? I hope that my beliefs help me to treat people better.
Yeah.
I hope it helps me to love people better, want to share generosity of actual helpful stuff, and also just kindness. But then I still will come about like after this, and I'll probably be thinking, but what are you actually doing? But that's okay. Figuring it out.
You know what? I think we just wrap it up, because I need to go to the toilet and do a wee.
Yeah, and I've just found out my dog hasn't been fed today, so poor guy.
Oh.
He's usually had 2 feeds by now. He's not had 1. All right, I love you.
Right, love you too. We'll see you again on the other side.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.